Okay, so this is what people often think of from the heydays of trams. They were great, but they superseded by other things. This is what trams look like today, and they got low entry floors. They're easy for disabled people. City planners like them, commuters like them. People who live nearby, maybe not so much. About 20 years ago, city planners in Birmingham and Wolverhampton linked their two cities with a tram. It was mostly built on pre-existing rail track or network rail infrastructure. So in Birmingham, there wasn't much needed to be done. But 3 years ago, they extended it round the corner. And there is plans for a further extension, which is just starting to be built now, which crucially will take it past the Town Hall and Symphony Hall, which are two very vibration and noise sensitive buildings. One of the things that causes noise and particularly the rail squeal is wear on the rails. This is particularly bad. This is not what you'd typically see on a tram track. This is called corrugation, and it happens when you have essentially a damage mechanism and a wavelength fixing mechanism. And it's the sort of thing that people responsible for maintaining the tracks would like to know about before it happens. So anything they can do to measure it would be good. A few years ago, a student, James Talbot, and one of his fourth year students instrumented this tram, tram number 13. It was just a very simple thing. You can see the duct tape down the side, and in the box on the left, there's an Arduino with an accelerometer. And the sort of data you get from that showed promise, but there's a gap in the middle where it had to stop reading data and write to the SD card. We thought we could do better, and at the same time, Birmingham were upgrading their trams to the CAFR Bus 3. This is the one we instrumented. It's missing its front because it got hit by a van. It gave us the opportunity to go and get in there and add some instrumentation. So we've basically stuck in some accelerometers on all four of the wheels on one of the power units and one of the trail units. This is what it looks like underneath. It was a very messy job. We had to do it 2 nights over visits. If you plot all the data you get from Wolverhampton to Birmingham and plot the root mean squared acceleration against distance, you end up with these graphs, which are remarkably consistent except for this bit of track, which is the bit of track that's shared with cars. So the tram has to slow down, speed up, and it wore it out. So after 20 years, they decided to rip it all up and replace it. This is great, this is what it looked like, but unfortunately that means we can't now go back and get any ground truth measurements from that tram. Just to show you that our sensors were usefully able, just with root mean squared acceleration measurements. That was after the repair. You can see it's made an improvement, but clearly it's not going to give you a direct measurement of rail roughness, which is what the planners actually want. What we actually want is that what we're measuring is this. There is a model that involves the track stiffness and the wheel roughness and everything. This has been worked out by James's new student, Tobias Carrion. Basically, there is a transfer function, and if you knew the inverse function, and you could compensate for the wave number rather than the position of the tram, so you know the position along the track of where you get your roughness, this would be what you're interested to know. Now, Tobias gave a brilliant presentation at ICSIC 2019. Go and watch it on YouTube because he does a much better job of explaining it than I could possibly do in 4 minutes. But basically, because he doesn't have any ground truth data, he's made some up. And he's run it through his little simulated model of the transfer function to see what sort of things you would measure. There's a paper as well. He's then tried to use a frequency domain technique to run it back the other way and see how well he did. And at the end of this project, hopefully we'll take the tram data that we originally got, run it through his model, and we can hopefully then get real rail roughness spectra from real measurements. At the moment it's all synthetic, but he's proved that it works quite well. Transport for West Midlands and Metro were extremely helpful, letting us drill holes in their tram, particularly the brand new tram. And this has obviously been funded by various EPSCRC projects over the years. So Tobias is funded on this one. One of these is CSIC, I forget which one. And these various other people have helped.